they're always there. Action Force are there. Action Force will dare. Action Force. Now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It is me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and you are here for another exciting episode of Joe-Nie Loves Action Force, where Michael Nie, special guest host, and I cover the every issue of Action Force Monthly coming out of the UK. Michael, welcome back to Joe on Joe.
Action Force Weekly, Joe.
Action Force Weekly. Last time we recorded this, I said weekly, and then I made basically the same mistake.
It's good to be back.
It is very good to be back. I think my brain goes to monthly because the way they split these up weeklies, they're 5-page stories, so we cover them in basically it's one issue that we're covering. Mm-hmm. So it's like a month's worth of issue.
Sure.
But they were getting them weekly, those British kids. They were taking their pence and their shillings.
Yeah.
And they were heading down to the local pub. I'm assuming it was a pub.
That's right.
They were
fish and chips, vinegar,
fish and chips,
Force.
and they were getting a cornetto, and then they were buying one issue of Action Force, which was oversized, a little larger than magazine size format, and it printed on very thin newsprint for the most part, and then they were enjoying it, and then they were running back to the pub, getting their mum, and going to watch a football game.
That's
football
right.
pitch.
That's
or
right.
something.
That's right.
I mean, and possibly watch the beginning of a cricket match, and then when that match ended, heading back to the store because it was a week later when that cricket match ended, going back to the store. So they'd get the one issue of G.I. Joe in the morning.
Action Force.
Action Force. Watch cricket. 7 days later, get another issue of Action Force.
For 32 pence.
Yeah, rinse, wash, and repeat. Our friends across the pond. Michael, thank you again for joining us. I'm enjoying this run. It's really great.
Yeah, it's fun to step back 40 years almost and experience something for the first time.
Yeah, see what was happening concurrently, and the concurrent part is important because most of these issues have reprints of the American versions of G.I. Joe inside along them. So they were really meant to say. Yes, they were changing the characters to make Flint British, or Flint was American.
Flint was British.
Flint was British. Who was the American?
Hawk was also British.
Who were? Hawk was British.
But no, the American operatives were Scarlet, Snake Eyes,
Right.
Shipwreck was American. There's a few others.
Yeah, but like Footloose, not
correct.
Bazooka, not
right. Right.
Leatherneck, not. Like we haven't encountered.
Yes,
him
Leatherneck's from Germany.
Yeah, we haven't encountered him yet, but he showed up in those annuals. So like those characters they transported to being European or global.
Yeah,
rather. So technically, it's a little bit of an alt universe thing, but it's really really happening concurrently. So and that's fun. It's a fun way to look at it.
I just think a masterful move with the editor blending, taking Larry Hama's G.I. Joe stories and making some tweaks and then adding new content.
Yep.
And really, Action Force has its U.S. operations because in some of the reprints, the pit is part of it in Staten Island and all of that. But then, you've got their London base of operations, and then in the mail calls, you have everyone asking, "Where is Cobra's base?" And the answer always is, "Well, they're everywhere."
Yeah.
And it opens it up, and it's really fun.
It really, really is. And for reference sake, the Joe books that they're kind of synchronizing with. Specifically in this year, it's right around like 28, 29, 30, 31. The previous episodes we had been covering, like they were doing a concurrent with like 26, 27, the Snake Eyes Origins, and 24, 23. So it's that era of G.I. Joe.
Yeah, and it's about 15 to 20 issues behind where G.I. Joe was in the States, just to give you a sense.
Which is important when we talk about covers, because one of the covers they use is from 46. Yeah, from 46, but inside it's got a reprint of like 32. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're able to, which is to their benefit, like look back in arrears and see where G.I. Joe was going.
Yeah.
And make their choices on what Action Force was doing based on where G.I. Joe was going to be going, which is huge.
If they ever got to the 46 story, though, they wouldn't obviously be able to pull that cover.
No,
they'd have to do something original. So,
which would be great. I honestly, based on some of the original, really great covers they've done, I would imagine they would do an homage to it. One of their own covers, maybe, like Flint and who knows, Flint and Jay or something like that. Or, Flint and Destro.
Yeah.
In the same poses, busting through a door.
It'd be great.
That would be great. Because Destro, and in this iteration, really where Cobra Commander was the big bad and G.I. Joe, Destro was kind of the big bad in Action Force. He's really the driving force, which makes a lot of sense because, Scottish, based out of Europe. He was, they're playing on his home turf. So really it does make sense to have Destro in the lead.
Oh, yeah. And Destro and Flint, they're the two characters that vacillate between the upper left icon on all of these issues. And so clearly,
So we appreciate you listeners going on this ride with us. We urge you to check it out. You can find all these, the guts, the bodies of these issues. They're all hosted on Blood for the Baron website. So that's where I'm pulling them from. Michael has the pleasure of having the actual issues in front of him, so he brings that deep knowledge. We get better looks at the covers. We get more detail about the writers and the creators. That's what Mike's bringing, and we're loving it. Loving exploring all this stuff. We're doing the contests. We have another contest this week, Michael.
Yeah. Amongst the issues, actually, there's a few contests, but one is like Beast Wars related, or Battle Beast rather. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so that's a little Action Force adjacent.
And I didn't get a chance to put the one in the mail yet this week, but Michael brought another one, and it's going to the same PO box. So we're going to send both in the same envelope.
I love it.
We're really going to bombard them.
Save on postage.
Yeah, save on postage.
Double on contest entries.
Exactly. Double on contest entries. That someone at a hair salon, right? We covered that the address is now currently a hair salon.
That's what it is.
Someone at a hair salon will ignore, but hopefully email us at joeandjoepod@gmail.com, which, speaking of, listeners, you're out there on social media, follow us at joeandjoepod. This is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the show. And if you're listening from across the pond, let us know how terribly we're butchering everything about this.
That's right.
I am going to do my best today, because today's adventure covers the Thames River.
Yes.
Which I'm almost 50 as recording this. I'm 49. I'm almost 49 as we record. I got another year. For probably good 45 years of my life, I always pronounced the Thames.
Yep.
I'm one of those guys, but I was aware of what it was. I just didn't. I always read about it.
I had to go to London to pronounce it properly too.
So I'm gonna probably say that. I've said it on previous episodes. So, there's a big part of this adventure that happens on the Thames. That's exciting. So if you're upset and you're in the UK and you're hearing this and you're very upset with the way we've been treating your MPs and your childhood, let me know, man. Just call me out. Call me wanker. Call me whatever you want. I really appreciate it. Appreciate hearing from all you listeners. You guys are great. So joeandjoepod@gmail.com. If you want to help support the show, go to patreon.com/joeandjoepod. You can help support the show in that manner. Who's always supporting the show is the Movies in a Meal podcast. They are a tremendous podcast. They talk about movies. They talk about a lot of the genre TV shows. They've certainly covered a lot of the Star Wars stuff. I'm sure they're covering The Boys right now. I'm loving The Boys. Episode 4 just dropped. As of this recording, might be the best episode they've ever done.
All right.
Are you caught up, Michael?
No. So no spoilers, but you can.
No spoilers. I'm just saying. I'm not even joking. Season 4, episode 4 is just a well-made piece of TV, and it was great. Absolutely great. So loving The Boys. Let me see movies. What do I saw? Oh, so Bad Boys over the weekend. I enjoyed that. Thought it was great. Next weekend we're looking at the Quiet Place day 1.
Yeah.
So Movies in a Meal, they're going to be talking about this stuff. So by the time you hear this, those movies will probably be on VOD by that point. And frankly, the way the industry goes with films and stuff these days, this might be next week. They might be on VOD. It's like it's different. It used to be like a year and a half till it came out on VHS. Then it was 6 months. Then it was like a month after it got pulled, and now it's in your home within weeks of release. So they cover all that. So check out our pals, Movies in a Meal, on their podcast, and give them some love. Tell them Joe and Joe sent you. Michael, as we're also recording this, it's also Joe Fest weekend.
That's right. That's right. And we are not there.
We are not there. I wish we could say like coming to you live from Augusta. No, we are not there.
But we are here together, and we're talking about maybe someday.
Yeah,
maybe next year.
Maybe next year.
You never
maybe
know.
next year. We're talking about we're throwing on maybe we're going to hit that Iowa one.
Codename Iowa. Yeah, assembly required.
Yeah, so maybe we'll hit that in the fall. We both are more Midwestern-y connections. And Wisconsin, right? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's what draws us in. I don't know, but no, we missed out. We saw some of the Super 7 releases at this point. They were like the blue form prototypes. They look fun.
The O-ring prototypes.
They look fun. I don't know what I was expecting, but I guess I didn't think that they would just look like Super 7 figures with articulation, which makes sense that they are.
I also thought there was a leaked list of like what Wave 1 was going to be a few months back, and they were much more obscure than these. These are like just straight redos of Cobra Commander, Snake Eyes, CoverGirl, a bat. Because before it, like one of the characters was from the cartoon. It's that big hulking, I forget his name, but who Duke fights.
Yeah,
in
the guy who
cartoon.
gets the mind control.
Yeah,
the little piece of bubble gum that goes between his mind control.
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's like a Wave 2.
They said they were doing that O-ring.
There was a leak.
Oh.
There was a listing that I think it was a big bad or one of those put up and then immediately came down. And so
Well, if they're doing her, they got to do the girl.
So we'll see.
Who Duke. A couple things about that. One, Duke fell in love with her. And never called her back because Scarlet came back in the picture.
Oh, yeah.
They were in love.
Yeah,
Duke was like, if I'm going to die, she was his Nova from Planet of the Apes.
That's right.
And two, the second thing about that is the Duke signal ring.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I think it did come back in one future miniseries, like the next year's miniseries or something. I do think it came back once or twice, but really not mentioned much again. And always, my question to that was always, if we've got the technology to do a tracker signal ring for just Duke, why does every Joe they all have an opportunity to get captured and become prisoners of war? Why does every Joe not have a signal ring that pinpoints exactly where they're at?
Right? Yeah, it's true.
It always felt like a MacGuffin that they came up with that they realized we can't ever use this again.
Yeah.
Because there's no stories that involve with Shipwreck's been kidnapped and we don't know where he's at. Nope. It's Shipwreck's been kidnapped. Did he turn his tracer on? Yes, he did. Let's go there. That solves half of our series' issues.
It was special.
It was very special.
It was a special time.
It was a bit. You know what? They're feeling their oats. I'm not knocking them for it. They were trying to figure out what they wanted to be.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So yeah.
And as we'll find out, in England, at the time we're revisiting, they hadn't had the cartoon yet.
Yeah.
But for the first time, it's coming onto the scene, not on British television, but via direct marketing.
And speaking of trackers, that comes into handy in this the series of comics that we're talking about today. Shipwreck literally does have a tracker.
He does,
and he realizes that he better drop it now, otherwise they're going to lose
the signal.
Mm-hmm. Smarter. I would say smarter use of tracker technology in that order.
Yeah,
because they're recognizing the limitations and how it can't be the solution to the entire chase.
Absolutely,
right?
and
which is really what they figured out in every movie that's ever used a tracker.
Yeah,
anytime someone's like, any action movie you watch, they're like, we're gonna have you on a tracker. You as a viewer, it's never going to lead you to where you need to go. It's either going to get diverted or knocked off or left purposely to leave some other message from the person, or duped. And we went to it never leads you directly to.
Might get you close, but that's about
it definitely keeps
hand grenades.
It keeps you in the game.
Yeah,
but it never solves the problem.
Well, I'm thrilled to see Shipwreck back. He's one of, aside from Snake Eyes, he's like my favorite character.
Yes, absolutely.
In the world of Action Force, he's a little different.
Probably top 3, easily top 5 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Shipwreck. I love Shipwreck, and I love Polly. The fact that Polly never really gets his due in any of these is disappointing to me. I think Polly's fabulous.
I was happy to see in the trading card voting for the Skybound Compendium Kickstarter that's coming to a close that
Yep.
Shipwreck and Polly was the last
Yes,
selection
and you-
after the data error.
You
that-
saw that. Okay, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, you saw that data error.
Everyone's like, Zap? What?
Well, at least it wasn't a front runner.
Sure.
Now I'm a front runner myself. I love Snake Eyes. I get it. I'm not sitting here going that band was cool until everyone found out about it. I don't mean to be that guy.
Yeah.
But man, did I want some more oddball choices.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's so front runners. The choices were all really, really front runnery.
I know.
Really front runnery.
I could do without yet another roadblock something.
Right.
But
I
Shipwreck,
would have loved to Zap.
Shipwreck is, he's got enough color.
Oh,
that
Shipwreck's great.
He's always.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. They're all great. Gung Ho's going to be great.
Yeah.
But like, I'd much prefer the weirdos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even the other list wasn't. It was like Wetsuit, Zap.
Copper. It was Copperhead. Oh,
Well,
the
the
list,
Cobras
the
are the
bad
same.
list. Yeah, right.
Mhm.
The data list. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones that they're now not doing. There weren't any real oddballs in there. So.
And even Wetsuit though, that's pretty mainstream.
Yeah.
From the cartoon, based on the cartoon. Although he had some good moments in the comic, but yeah, cartoon, he was pretty mainstream. So,
Anyway,
yeah,
we digress.
Anywho,
we came here to talk about Action Force.
We are here to talk about Action Force. We're here to praise Action Force, and so we will. So Action Force, we're starting with issue 18.
Yeah, issue 18 with a cover. Do you want to talk about the covers?
Yeah, let's go over the covers.
At the offset. So this is the one issue, another cover by Jeff Sr., colored by John Burns, not John Byrne.
Yeah, I think I got confused last time.
So this is the one it's even on the title, with this fabulous wraparound cover artwork is
win this.
Yes.
Win this.
Oh yeah, sorry.
You can win
this.
it.
That's right. We talked about this. There was
Yeah.
a contest where you just write in and you could win the original artwork. You got to come to the Marvel UK office, which is now a salon.
Now a salon. So if you show up, I don't recommend bothering these people. Don't just show up there.
But yeah, what's cool about
I don't
this?
know who won it because that's a great artwork.
It's great. There's other than the banner at the top that says you could win this. There's no title on it, so it's mostly artwork. And it's the first wraparound cover that we've seen, and it's the first appearance of the Mauler. And
Heavy Metal? Has Heavy Metal been in it before?
No.
Yeah.
No. So this is the first appearance of the Mauler tank and Heavy Metal. And I love that we have these fangs flown by Crimson Guardsmen flying over Stonehenge. So this is clearly a European adventure.
Yeah, and it is a 12-foot Stonehenge, not a 12-inch Stonehenge. So that's important for you Spinal Tap fans out there. It is the properly sized Stonehenge.
And I'll just say, I'll take this opportunity to say, this definitely reflects the story inside, which we'll see.
Yeah.
And
colors are nice too.
I'm so impressed with so many of these covers, how they relate to the story inside.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have entered the age of, variant covers and all kinds of just like pinup covers that may or may not relate. And the story these days is that the artist doesn't have enough, lead time. They got to get drawing before the story is written or whatever, all kinds of reasons.
Whatever excuse you want to use to not do the right job.
But I mean, these were comics that were put out weekly.
Yeah.
And somehow putting out 4 comics a month.
Somehow they figured it out.
They figured out how to put very relevant action on these covers that is directly what's happening inside. So
amazing how that works.
It's incredible. I know occasionally they borrow a G.I. Joe cover that's been recolored or something, but for the most part, these are original and really impressive.
Really, really nice. What I dig about this is that the cover is happening in the middle of some real action. That tank is dropping out of the sky. If you look closely, it is airborne. It is like either been blown up and like shot up in the air and is now falling down, or it's jumping off some kind of elevated terrain or something. But it's not just a tank on the ground shooting. No. It is in action, in motion, and still shooting and still knocking fangs out of the sky. It's really great. It is a really solid cover.
Well, and you have a fang that actually part of the reason the back end may be flying up is because it's getting hit.
Oh, well, that's you know what? That is what it's doing. Yeah, you're right.
So maybe it was on the ground. So no,
Yeah, and it's buckling. It's popped
buckling.
up.
It's sort of exploding the rear treads, but it's also taking aim at the fang ahead. I mean, there's all kinds of
It's
stuff
great.
going
It's a
on
great
here.
cover. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. All right, what's next?
So next we've got 19, which is the cover. Cobra's Strike is the title.
Cobra Sting.
Sorry, thank you.
That's okay.
You got it across the room.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a look at a stinger, which makes sense.
Yeah, they're marketing the new toy here.
Yeah, and they're it's a thin lined version of the Sting. It's different artist, right? It's got to be.
Yeah.
So this
yep.
is different from Jeff's. This isn't a Jeff
So
Senior.
so the next 4 covers are all Kev Hopgood,
Okay, that's what it is. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. Like it looks good.
who's drawing the interiors for them
Yeah,
as
and
well.
he's got the driver, and he's got two Cobra Troopers hanging out the side, shooting directly at you. It's a great way to feature the Sting.
Yeah, and there's a complimentary cover. The next one, 20, is Air Scare.
More Stings.
More
This
stingers.
is, and this really is, yeah, it's like the next moment. It's could be the same guys, although you don't have the guys leaning at the truck, but they're shooting at Flint, who's flying in a Dragonfly. That looks pretty good. Very green.
Yeah, and this is the issue we'll talk about, but the contest for 12 Action Force videos must be won.
Must be one.
So the cartoon is finally coming
They
onto the scene. And they
Must
talk about
be
it.
one. They must be one.
And then the cover to issue 21. Again, no title. We've got some, dialogue bubbles here.
Stay cool, Zartan. The Dreadnoks are back. Action Force don't stand a chance. It's pretty good.
And
Fun.
Yeah. And then the cross promotion banner, 200 Battle Beasts
200.
must be won. So clearly they were in a phase of contest.
Yeah.
Because issue 20 was, we're giving away some Action Force cartoons. Issue 21, we're giving away Battle Beasts.
I love the directive, the must be one part. That's fun.
Oh, yeah, it's
That's
great.
fun.
It's totally great. And then I guess we should make just a quick mention after 21.
Yeah, so after 21, they actually released a holiday special. And the holiday special was just a reprint of G.I. Joe. Issue 31. Issue
Yeah.
31. So there's no new material in there, so we're not going to cover it. But they did a great Snake Eyes, V2 Snake Eyes cover. It's him holding a hand grenade in one hand and Uzi in the other. He looks fabulous, and he is Snake Eyes alone.
And Mike Collins is the cover artist for this summer holiday special. And he had primarily been a writer, writing a lot of these stories, such as Coils of the Serpent, Snow Chase, Terror Tower, Moroccan Roll, a lot of what we've been talking about. In fact, he's been writing the majority of all these Action Force stories. So
Yeah.
he had a chance to...
Well, based on this cover, he's welcome to draw one anytime. Because that's a
Absolutely.
really good-looking Snake Eyes cover. And then that is the preamble to the final issue we're covering today, issue 22, which is the Mike Zeck Snake Eyes Storm Shadow busting through the door cover. If you don't know what that is, stop listening right now. And some people would say stop listening, go look it up and come back. I might just say stop listening. I'm kidding, of course, but it's probably one of the most iconic G.I. Joe covers of all time, really. It's a genuinely iconic comic book cover, period. But definitely for G.I. Joe, it's got to be top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. Again, taken from G.I. Joe 46.
Yeah. It's Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes busting through the doorway. Snake Eyes is with his Uzi, Storm Shadow with his sword drawn. Really fabulous. So they reprinted that, recolored it for the
Yeah,
Action Force.
and they do advertise at the top of this cover because there's no title again, but it says Readers Poll Results. See page 12. So taking you back to issue 14, they put out a call to all the readers saying, "Who's your favorite artist? What's your favorite issue? Who's your favorite character?" They had all these questions. So the results are finally in about 8 issues later here. So that was
about 2 months.
Yeah.
Take them about 2 months to get results for a poll.
Yeah, so there's a centerfold spread.
And the results were wetsuit, Zap.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so that's great. So good looking covers. They're telling stories, and for us in the now, they just make really cool G.I. Joe images that we probably you listeners probably haven't seen all that often. We've looked over the same comics for years, and certainly they're great. And we obviously had new comics and new covers, but from that era, we've seen these same comics for all this time. So to have them have the opportunity to look at the Action Force stuff and of that era, to have a different perspective on it, I think is really cool.
And I love the format. I love the larger,
Yeah,
magazine size is a good size.
Yeah, bigger images, bigger. Yeah. I'm here for it. So Action Force 18 is a one-off story called
Dummy Run.
Dummy Run.
That's right. Drawn by Jeff Sr., who also did the cover. And written by Steve White.
Very much what I would call like just a little quick fill-in issue, for sure. We open with the Mauler just driving down the road near Stonehenge, which is great.
Oh, yeah. The Salisbury Plain is the location of Stonehenge.
Yeah. I feel like running a military... are they...
Just the combination of these elements. So you have
Stonehenge. They're just driving to the gunnery range. I just had to really refresh my memory on that. They're not in pursuit of anything right now.
No, and there's a hippie walking.
Yeah, there's a hippie just walking down the street, which he looks great. And in my brain, I'm going, oh, maybe what if that's Zartan? But not Zartan. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, why are we letting military vehicles that close to Stonehenge, a historical monument, in the first place? That's where I'm saying, like, if a chase leads there, that's one thing. Like, be careful, but we got to get the bad guys, and it happens to go down the street from Stonehenge. Yeah. But like, this is like, oh, we're just driving through with a fully armed battle tank. Hold on, hey Stonehenge, what's up?
No tourists except for this soul
no
hippie.
Tourists, no, and it's a good looking hippie. It's got long blonde hair, white hair rather, whitish blondish hair. It could be Outback. Like, it's got a very Outback and the Tiger Force version.
Yeah,
a couple year, maybe a year of growth on everything.
Yeah, I love he's Peace Man as they go by.
Peace Man, they drive by. Really well rendered everything here. And as they go by, the hippie pulls out a giant walkie-talkie, a little cell phone thing going on, and he says, "Commence your attack." And that's when a couple Fang copters fly out of nowhere from the trees.
Yeah. So
they were really hanging out at that Stonehenge, waiting for the Mauler to come by. And so really what this is introducing the toy Mauler to European guys. It's 100% what this story is.
Oh, yeah. And also, Crimson Guard are flying these fangs.
Yeah.
So, it's an elite operation here.
Yep. For a second there, when I was looking at it, I was like, "Oh, is that the Hiss driver?" Like, did they do? But they're Crimson Guards.
Yeah.
And
I love this panel.
The great panel. There's a lot of really fun action here. Again, like this, the first panel on page 3, they chose to put a Dutch tilt on it, which adds some fun excitement to it. You've got it's a North by Northwest-esque panel where the Fang's coming in from behind and it's zooming overhead. And shooting at them all the while, very much that. Then you get a reaction shot of Flint and Heavy Metal on the Mauler, and then this third panel is great. It's a widescreen, cuts across the whole page, and you see the Mauler just blown up in the sky, which is what was pretty much featured on the cover.
Yeah,
where it's blown up in the air from the missile on this tank. Really awesome. And then we learned. Now, did you have a Mauler toy, Michael?
No, I never got one new as a kid. I did, on the later in life, I came across one, but it wasn't complete and it didn't work.
I never had a Mauler. Did it have a firing missile or anything that came out the front?
No. This is before projectile launching. No spring loaded.
Yeah, no spring loaded. I didn't think so.
No. What I had as a kid was I had the Lynx, which was the Slaughter's Marauders tank that had the turret from the Mauler.
Oh, okay.
On top, or at least the gun. Yeah. Sorry, from the Mauler. Rather.
So the Mauler knocks out one of the Fangs, but they've still got another one who has air superiority on it. And this next page, the that's like two missile angled shot is really good.
Right down the barrel.
Right down the barrel, because not only is he firing 2 of his 4 missiles, but he's also shooting the laser.
Yeah, that ball turret.
Yeah, the ball turret. It's great, and he hits the Mauler. Mauler's done for. It ain't going anywhere. The look on Flint and Jay's face is fabulous. Yeah, it's just a nice drawing of those two.
The look on Heavy Metal's face is even more fabulous. On the next page. Sorry.
Oh yeah, he's smiling. He's like, "This is great." Well, this is why I asked about the toy, because he basically loads up a special missile ordnance in it and fires it out. And I was wondering if that corresponded to anything that was actually in the toy, or they're just doing that for fun.
That is a fun interpretation.
Yeah.
Modification.
Yeah. So the turret of the tank now is shooting a special. You know what that looks like? That missile looks like the Cobra Missile Command Base that blew apart. You remember the missile that came with it? That's what this missile looks like. Completely looks like that. The one that broke into 3 parts.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So he fires that. It hits the Fang, knocks it out of the sky, and then we see that the hippie's been watching the show the whole time, and the hippie takes off his hippiedom mask, and he reveals himself to be Destro.
Yeah.
And this whole thing, again, Destro's a winner. This whole thing was he wanted to test the capabilities of the Mauler to see what they had up their sleeves so that he could copy it for Mars Industry and sell it to Cobra.
The final line, and a man called Destro laughs. Cue the cartoon voice.
Destro on top, man. That's what we're learning for Action Force here. Is Destro's a winner, and there's not much that he hasn't thought of. You know, he's got that. Oh, I've already planned this. I'm 5 steps ahead of you mindset, which is even more so, I think, than it's on display more, I think, in this than in the Joe comics. In the Joe comics, I always got the vibe of, yes, he was a forward-thinking dude, but more forward-thinking, like for his own purposes, like with the chess, with the chess set and all that stuff. But he would react well to events on the ground and make moves based on what other people did. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In Action Force, he seems to be saying, I'm going to make the moves 5 steps ahead of you, and I'm going to influence the board. I'm not just going to react well, but react to what's happening. I'm going to make you react to what I'm doing. I think there's a tonal difference with these 2 Destros.
Yeah. Yeah. But I love it.
Oh, it's fabulous. So we roll into the next issue.
Real quick, I love some of these mail calls.
Yeah.
There's just one. There's just one I wanted to bring up. It's a letter to Bazooka. Dear Bazooka, you are my favorite character, but my dad says you're not real. So print this and prove him wrong. From Ian Hewitt.
Okay.
The response.
Oh.
Bazooka replies, so your dad doesn't think we're real, huh? Well, tell him from me that the only reason he can sleep safely in his bed at night is because people like Flint, Lady J, and myself are out there, busting a gut, protecting him from scum like Cobra. But it sounds to me like your dad is a bit off his stack. So, if I were you, kid, I'd check his wardrobe and see if he's hiding a Cobra uniform in there somewhere.
I like that a lot. Should we send an exact word-for-word duplicate email? Maybe not to Bazooka, because they haven't really done much with Bazooka lately in the IDW or the Skybound stuff.
Yeah.
Should we send the exact email about, let's say, Duke? Duke, I don't think you're real. My dad says you're not. Whatever that literally just said, and send that to them and see if it gets printed.
See what response you get. Amazing.
That's great. That's really great.
Anyway, sometimes it's just fun.
Oh, no, that's always fun. Please always keep bringing that to the table. So we get a little story called Doppelganger. This is what is...
It's a 4-parter.
4-parter.
So, and we have a new writer here.
Who do we got?
So we've got Ian Rimmer. It's the first time I've seen that name.
Okay.
And art by Kev Hopgood. So Kev Hopgood's doing all the covers as well as the interior art.
And I'd say his interior art has stepped up a game.
Yeah.
I think it's better.
Yeah.
I think it's better than last time we saw him, for sure.
And when we get to the poll results, you'll actually see that Kev Hopgood does edge out Jeff Sr. for the favorite artist. Which,
that's exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
So yeah, and I think...
Spoiler.
Yeah. Well, got to tease a little bit. There's other categories. But yeah, so yeah, Ian Rimmer is the new writer for this 4-parter, Doppelganger.
Yeah, it's good. So we open up, there's a guy's... do we get this... this is Latimer. Yeah, this is Latimer.
Trent?
No. Well, who's this? Do we ever get this guy's name? or is he just his spy?
Let me see what you're.
The guy that dies in the beginning.
Oh,
Is that Latimer?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Latimer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I thought I was having a mental breakdown because I'm reading, but I don't necessarily. Yeah. Anyway, this guy's name is Latimer.
All right, now I'm with you.
He would say that under his breath whenever he was on a mission. Spying with his little eye was his job, and he was good at it, maybe too good. So, yeah, that's what. After all, not many people in London learned Cobra's secrets. Latimer had discovered just one. Ever since then, he had been running, out of time. So, this guy in a green coat, this is Latimer, which is meeting. He's been a spy for the British government. He's getting pursued by a bunch of Cobra troopers. You kind of tell that one, it's a comic accurate gun, but also I like this panel with the searchlights.
Oh yeah,
that's really cool. It's like he's getting pursued by his tanks or something. And then they just shoot him in the streets. They just bracketing of shots. But as he's falling to his death, he does that great move that you see in a lot of like murder mystery things where he puts his finger on a clue for people to find them.
Yeah.
And in this case, he's pointing, and we get the subject of this story. I don't think that newspaper printed the word doppelganger that day.
Yeah.
But that's the name of the story. But like, that'd be pretty prescient. The newspaper was like, "Hey, we're running a picture of this dude. Was he at Ahmed Hassan?
Mm-hmm.
He's about to become Ismaili's first. Ismaili being a fictional
country,
oil country, first ever ambassador to this country. He's a vital oil supplier to the West. I don't think the newspaper was like, "Hey, this Ahmad guy is going to be a doppelganger."
That's true. But
that's the name of the story, and the dead guy's finger lays on his face in that day's newspaper. Oh, you know what? It's funny. When I hold this upside down, it does say, the newspaper actually says, Ismaili appoints ambassador to Britain.
There you go.
So that's the actual headline there.
Yeah. They're trying to
having
get clever
fun.
with the
I love
title.
it.
They're trying to work the title into.
You know what they're doing? If you're watching a movie, they're doing that diegetic music that actually impacts what you're watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we get to our friend Trent. Now, if you guys remember, if you've been following us along here, the Joes were put on the outs with the government because of an operation they performed to rescue.
They went to attack that oil rig.
They went to attack the oil. They went to attack the oil rig. Some of their buddies got captured, but then the government was like, "You guys are in trouble for attacking this oil rig." But they're like, "Well, we have to go rescue our buddies," and so they went and rescued their buddies without the government approval, and then that's what got them banned.
Yeah. Or Cobra was taking over the oil rig, they thought, and they went to stop them.
Right, and it turned out the oil rig was legit, so they got them shut down, and
they
then
got caught in the mix, and then Quick Kick had to go in,
right,
and rescue the guys.
And when that happened, they were like, "No, your goose is cooked, man. Now you've gone too far."
Yeah.
So, so we're at that point now, which I love the carrying the continuity. That's a lot of times you would think that stories like this would just be one-offs. Like the idea of an action force, they would just say, just tell, like special missions kind of.
Yeah, a weekly series.
But no, this is it's its own ongoing continuity. So their UK liaison Trent is like, you guys are done. Like, you can't operate. And Flint's pointing at him, saying like, Latimer still delivered, even as he died. So what's going down? So they know that Latimer gave some information to the government, but he's not spilling the beans. But I will say this: Trent's on their side, right?
Yeah,
because he leaves Flint alone in his office.
Yeah. Yep.
With enough information for Flint to piece together a mission.
Yeah,
it's one of those moves.
Yeah, they're definitely arm wrestling at the top here and going toe to toe. But at the end of the day,
Trent's like, "Oh, there's no computers involved here, but like, oh, my computer happens to still be on. If someone happened to look at my computer while I was out of the room, I can't control that. It's that kind of power play here." So 2 days later, basically they're welcoming this Ahmad Hassan character. They're welcoming him to Britain. There's a full police escort set up.
The ambassador is
The
arriving.
ambassador is arriving. He comes off the plane. You see Flint in a overseeing the operation. He went over Trent's head and got clearance to observe this exercise. I hope it just goes to plan. There's Lady J. She was dressed as a flight attendant, and that is the same gear to me that looks like it from the Special Missions adventure.
Yeah.
Which is a fun callback.
It is.
That's got to be on purpose.
Absolutely.
It's very much the same gear she wore when they invaded that plane in the Special Missions one.
Again, blending the U.S. reprints and the original material.
We've got a dragonfly here flying overhead. There's
the first appearance of the Silver Mirage.
First appearance of the Silver Mirage. First in Action Force or first period?
In Action Force.
Okay, first day. I love the Silver Mirage. That was my motorcycle.
That's great.
I had a Ram that broke.
Yeah.
And then I got a Silver Mirage that stayed unbroken for a little longer, but eventually also that sidecar broke. But I love the Silver Mirage, man. Those little missiles on the back, those are great.
Yeah.
We get Footloose and Crankcase driving in the Awestriker. They're like watching things through the they're using that Awestriker video camera, which is really great use of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah.
That was one of the fun parts of that toy that no one ever used except for this. Cuz it totally has a video camera on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're watching. They see no signs of Cobra activity. Yeah, so they're basically watching the barricade. But then a couple of stingers roll up.
So the reason for the cover and Cobra's sting is this is the first appearance of the stinger in Action Force.
Yeah.
So
and they announce their presence with a Thorta. They blow up the.
They come out firing.
Not
wasting any time.
No, they're really not. They blow up the trailing cars. You know, the limo with the ambassador guy is not hit because they want to capture him. They don't want to kill him. Flint is telling him to maintain observational role only, which is strange. That should, as a reader, that should tip you off a little bit to what's going on.
Yeah.
One of the bike cops
turns out to be a Cobra agent.
Cobra Plant.
Yeah.
Shoots him. Cobra will have prevailed. They shoot the tire out of that car. Footloose and Crankcase are still recording this for posterity. They're not getting involved again. It should tip you off to what's up.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see, meanwhile, Lady J on that Silver Mirage, she wasn't with the Caravan. Well, why wasn't she with the Caravan?
She had someone in her sidecar.
And who was in her sidecar, Michael?
Well, it's supposed to look like Shipwreck, but it's Ahmed, our ambassador.
Right.
And by Shipwreck, I mean you're about to see...
no, he's not supposed to look like anything. He is straight up Ahmed. He was wearing a motorcycle helmet.
Yeah.
She carries the actual ambassador to the airport or hotel or wherever they're going.
Right.
But the guy who we thought was Ahmed was actually Shipwreck with some silver powder in his hair.
Yeah. So Shipwreck's done up to look like Ahmed.
Yes.
That's what I meant.
Exactly. And he's getting captured by these Cobra troopers. So we're going to roll into the next issue.
He's a dead man.
They're using the same level of disguise technology that I thought was happening when I played with these. And what I mean by that is Zartan came with a fake face, and that fake face was a dude with a beard. And to my head, that only meant Zartan could disguise himself as Shipwreck. Because Shipwreck was, for my collection, was the only guy with the beard and the brown beard.
Oh yeah.
So I always thought that Zartan exclusively carried a Shipwreck mask to disguise himself as Shipwreck.
Yeah.
Whenever he could, whenever the possibility came about. And so in this case, because Shipwreck also has a beard, they're like, guess what, Shipwreck? You're going to be the ambassador.
You're the guy.
Because Shipwreck, not a Middle Eastern oil.
No.
I'm assuming facially looks nothing like a Middle Eastern gentleman who runs an oil conglomerate.
And he's an American in this universe.
Yeah, so he's still Shipwreck.
Yeah.
Operating under the guise of still being Shipwreck.
Yeah.
But he happens to have a beard and the same hair. So colored all white or gray.
Yeah.
And then you're going undercover ship. That's it.
It's something new.
Hey, that speaks to me. That's my level of disguise.
That's great.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of Shipwreck, I got to give you one last little from the mail call section of this issue, since we're on the last page here. Reader writes in, Dear Mail Call, could you please tell me what Shipwreck's parrot is called? This is from Ryan Hunter.
Oh.
Now, this is an age of contests and all kinds of things. The editors are having a lot of fun with their readership. And so the response is, I feel a competition coming on. Nobody, not even Shipwreck himself, seems to know the name of his parrot. So, if anyone can come up with something suitable, they stand a chance of winning a Shipwreck figure, complete with his mysterious parrot from the Action Force toy range. Send your ideas to Name That Parrot, Marvel Comics, 23 Redden Place, The Salon, London. All entries must be in by Friday, the 24th of July, 1987. So we need a time machine.
Yeah.
With the final choice being published in a later issue of Action Force. But then it finishes with anyone suggesting that the name Polly will receive a swift and lethal visit from the Action Force Assault Squad.
Oh, okay. So they really want to. They want to distance themselves.
I guess so. Polly is the G.I. Joe Shipwreck's parrot. So Action Force needs a new name for Polly. I guess.
I'm on board, man. I'm 100% on board with that.
This contest mention only appears in the mail call section. It's not like anywhere else.
It's not emblazoned on
So
the
I'm
cover.
curious if anyone, actually wrote
that's fun.
in.
And all that is the editor just had an extra shipwreck laying around. It's like, I don't need this. They've sent me too many shipwrecks.
Yeah.
Let me give one away. Like it's you know what that is? That's 100% the equivalent of like today on Twitter or social media, where some influencer like gets something free sent to him from a company. And is like,
Sure.
I don't want this. Let me give it away. Someone sent me a mouse pad for their manga that I don't care about. Let me give it away on my social media. That's what that shipwreck contest just was.
I love it.
Yeah. So we'll include that. Actually, before we jump into what the next shipwreck adventures, let's jump to this. There is a contest in one of these.
Yeah, so this will be in the next issue. So coming up here, 20.
Called Video Sets Must Be Won. So as long as we're talking contests, we'll cover this now.
Great.
And we're gonna send in for this as well. But so ever since the first issues of Action Force hit the newsstands in March this year, we've been inundated with mail asking, nay, demanding that Action Force be brought to the small screen. Well, long last, we can exclusively reveal that Tempo Video have just released 2 explosive Action Force videos. We're giving away 12 sets in this terrific, so easy to enter competition. The videos contained Worlds Without End, Flint's Vacation, and Captives of Cobra. Those are fabulous episodes.
And Ode to Cobra.
Mm-hmm. And so that's 2 solid hours of Action Force adventure, kids. So the way to enter this was they've included a caption of, and this was from a previous issue that we've already covered. We've seen this caption before. It's Cobra Commander standing next to a seated Destro. They've got on their view screen. It's actually the cover of issue 1. It's Flint and Footloose, back to back shooting their guns. There's a picture of Destro over their shoulder. That's not from the first issue, but it's from the first cover.
They've got a comic panel with some empty dialogue.
Yeah, so it's like
here.
it's like they're watching it on a view screen, and there's 2 dialogue bubbles.
Yeah.
And so Cobra Commander saying something and Destro saying something. So in order to enter this contest, you had to specify what you think their dialogue would be.
Yeah, and you're being judged by what is the most apt and what is the most amusing dialogue.
Yeah. So so we're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna mail this over to them. Michael, do you have any suggestions for this?
Oh, I feel like this is an important moment, so I got to give it some thought.
Okay.
On the spot, not sure. What about you?
I feel like it's something about Destro. That's my chair.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually that's my submission. Destro ... That's my chair.
I do love this.
And Destro says, "I called dibs."
So no reference to Action Force.
No reference to Action Force whatsoever.
I love it.
It's just that's my chair. I called dibs.
That's
my. Are you okay
I
with
support
that?
this 100%.
Okay.
I love this.
Let me make a note there. So we're gonna send this in. That's my chair. That's my chair. And dibs.
What would be even better, because there's like the cast of Action Force on the screen, but if it was Action Force like descending upon the Cobra base, like
it was like in the middle of a fight,
an attack is coming, and they're just like they're completely distracted by this conversation and priorities.
Priorities, man.
But I love these contests, and so
they're great.
If there's any way I can encourage in the modern day, Skybound,
More
Alex
contests,
Antone,
fun stuff like this, like literally.
yeah, just community engagement, like that letters page, but not just reading letters, but like let's actually.
I'm gonna throw this out there, and
Why not?
I have no way to verify this other than just speculation based on my own personal job and my own functional career. Contests these days are crazy to do, because people like to litigate and complain. And I'm saying this in the kindest way I can be.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you used to be able to just do stuff like this and be like, here's a free shipwreck. First guy get, and who knows? Was it the first one? Was it the funniest one? Was it the whatever one? Who knows? Yeah. They would pick a winner, and maybe it'd go to the guy's cousin. I don't know. But now, there's
10,000 complaints. Oh,
yes,
I didn't get one.
Yes, there's 10,000 complaints. There's companies for larger, the Skybounds of the world.
Yeah.
If they want to run contests like this, yes, they probably Skybound, I imagine, could pull it off in house. But like a company like a retailer, like a major retailer, maybe I work for, if we want to run a contest, like, we either have to jump through a bunch of legal hoops ourselves, or you just hire a third party to run your contest for you.
Yeah.
Because they then take care of all those legal hoops. And it's nuts. Like, it's one of the reasons why we don't, whatever company I work for, we don't do contests.
Yeah. Joe, we didn't know how good we had it.
That's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying.
I will tell you, using a Wisconsin phrase, till the cows come home, that my childhood, I wouldn't trade for anything.
Yeah.
The age before, the internet, before social media, and what can I say? I'm an old soul, but it was a great time.
It was.
And I didn't know how great I had it. And
it was.
Man.
What
a time to be alive.
It is harder to do that kind of stuff. Honestly, it is harder to do that kind of stuff. So I think that's probably why. Because if you're doing it in-house, you're then devoting your employee manpower to frivolous stuff that's not going to get you a ton of, there's not a ton of gain there.
Yeah.
It's fun for the fandom, but you're not growing it all that much. And you're wasting your man hours and your whatever time to do it.
I guess if I have a time machine, I'm going back to the year of my birth, 1983, and I'm just gonna ride it out because those were great times.
Those were the best times. Yeah, sure. Nothing was terrible then that would come back to haunt us. Nothing. So we go to Doppelganger Part 2, and we pick up right away, and it's shipwreck / a mod. So call him a mod wreck.
Sure.
Yeah. A mod wreck. A med. I think it's a med. A med wreck.
There you go.
So it's a med wreck.
Hassan, his last name.
Ship Hassan.
There you go.
Ship Hassan.
That flows a little better.
Yeah. Ship Hassan being escorted off by some Cobra troopers. Crimson Guard is. I like that they set up these Crimson Guards as like they're the leaders. Like when there's a Crimson Guard in the room, the troopers are doing their duty. That was never a hierarchy that I saw play out much in G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Like it really wasn't. Like it was more that just the Crimson Guards were elite, but they worked for the twins, and or they were they were their own thing, but they never held sway over the other Cobra troopers.
Yeah.
That is not the case here.
This is great.
This dude is standing at attention, like he's walking away with his arms folded behind his back, and that's the power move, that you draw him like hanging like that. He's letting these troopers deal with it. I really like that.
It's the best interpretation, I think.
Yeah. And we also learned that cop that got shot, they're going to keep him with as a second hostage, because is this the page we learn who he is?
No, I think they just say
we learned later. He just says bring him with us. We may have need of a second hostage.
Yep.
But later on, that's going to come into play, and I got a real big question about that guy.
Sure.
A real big one. But we'll get to it when we learn who he is. So they're keeping this the cop that we saw get shot off the motorcycle. They're keeping him as the second hostage. Footloose and Crankcase are watching this whole thing, and and again, this goes. Now we're talking tracker action. Mm-hmm. This is the hot tracker action that we were asking for.
Yeah.
Shipwreck has the tracker on him. We see it's in his cufflink, and they're tracking these stingers to like
Middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere. They're like straw huts or something.
Yeah, it's the countryside of England.
Yeah,
you know, not
England. Do you
London.
have a lot of straw huts? I never. I guess like.
Well, you know what they're doing. They've seen what they did with the Quonset huts and the pit in G.I. Joe
yeah,
stateside,
you're right.
and they're like, you know what, we're gonna do something
That's
like
a great
that,
idea.
and we're gonna do an underground. We'll get into
Yeah.
it, but there's an underground situation here with these huts.
Yeah, so they stop in the middle of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
and Shipwreck realizes, or rather Shipson realizes what's happening, and he says, "Oh, now I get it. He better ditch the tracer because nobody will be able to pick up the signal where I'm going. We don't know it. The reader don't know it yet.
No, but he sees 3 huts. He's
Yep.
like, this looks a lot like the pit stateside.
Yep.
And they're totally out of place here.
Yep.
So I know that we're going somewhere else.
They're totally out of place.
Yeah.
But turns out at least 2 of those huts were hiding stingers. Because when the Joes catch up to that tracer, the Dragonfly and the Ostriker, stingers bust out of the hay bale. I know are those supposed to be huts, or is that just how they stack their hay?
No, they're busting out of the.
Yeah, but I mean, like, are they disguised to? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, is that how they stacked hay there in that way? Like, we bale it. Like, was there a different way of storing it or something?
I think they're straw huts.
Just straw huts.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't think that hard.
But Flint's in trouble here.
Flint is in trouble.
He's piloting a Dragonfly by himself. He doesn't have a co-pilot.
This
here.
top panel of the Dragonfly getting the batumed on is great.
And again, referencing the cover.
From the cover.
Yeah.
That's a sharp panel. Like what I dig is this is really happening in daytime, so it's a lot of bright colors. That panel gets really dark really fast.
Yeah.
And it just amps up the danger. This one right there.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because everything else is blue skies, and because it's daytime.
Now there's black smoke in the air.
Oh yeah, the sky's purple. I really like it. So he's trying to stay aloft and not die. He does manage to knock one out, and then the Ostriker catches up and tells
Takes care
Cobra
of the
to
other
eat
one.
that, Cobra.
Yeah.
And they do find the tracer, and they realize that he must have dropped it for a reason, and here's why. There's a hatch.
Yeah.
A very Lost-esque hatch.
And the only reason they saw it is because of all that activity with the battle. It blew all the hay off of this hatch, and so it was easier to find. I will say this depiction of the Ostriker is better than any I've seen anywhere.
They're using all of its play features.
It's fantastic.
They really are. Yeah. It's awesome. The fact that they used the video camera.
Yeah.
Like, you forget that it had a video camera. It had a video camera for no good reason. But here we see why they had a video camera. Dash cam. It was a dash cam before dash cams were dash cams.
That's right.
It's exactly what it was. It's catching Russian drivers cause terrible accidents. Half the dash cam videos that you watch are from Russia.
Yep.
And they're terrible. And the drivers, the people recording, laugh and drive on. In a lot of them, let's just say non-Russian ones,
Yeah.
the dash cam driver will stop and check it out, or at least you see it pull up, and then you see him pull over at least, and then the camera footage stops. In Russia, the Russian dash cams you see, something crazy happens on the road, the people in the car laugh, and then they keep driving.
It's
and if the camera's on the accident long enough, most of the time actually, the guy gets up and walks away.
Yeah.
Whatever the terrible accident was, whatever Russian dude was involved in it, he gets hit, run over, whatever it is, guy picks himself up and walks off. And he's like, I'm okay. So yeah, those are the 2 characteristics of Russian dash cam videos.
I got to brush up on my Russian dash cam.
You really need to. You really need to. What I dig about this is the last page of this issue gets right to it.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's so great. It's just boom. We're underground. It very much looks like the sub pen from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. So the river is running through the sewers here.
The river
Thames.
It's Thames, right? Thames, not Thames.
Yeah.
River Thames is running right underneath that area. But like we saw the hatch. We understand. Like, you get it. Like, you don't have to hold our hand to it.
We've got a Cobra banner.
Cobra banner.
Staircase.
There's two water moccasins.
I love the use of the water moccasin in these comics.
Yes.
It's amazing.
It's the meat era of water moccasin action.
We still haven't seen Copperhead.
No, but
you kind of see a helmet there that looks like Copperhead, but
we get him later, right?
he's not later.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah, and Shipwreck, this is hilarious, though. Shipwreck realizes the thing that's going to give him away is his tattoo.
This is completely, I think, taking from the Arashikage tattoo reveal from G.I. They're looking at, wow, that worked really well. How we saw Snake Eyes' tattoo.
Interesting.
And I know there's not another, brother of Shipwreck here that we see. It's not matching tattoos, but they're using, I think, this like tattoo reveal the way that
that's smart. You know what? I thought it was just a fun way to just get the action going.
Sure.
So basically, they see the tattoo. He realizes his cover's blown. He punches the trooper out, but not before the trooper was able to handcuff him to the water moccasin.
And the key goes flying in the water.
Flying in the water, right? And it ends with Shipwreck driving away on the water moccasin, this is all very fast and action, and I love it. I freaking love it. I thought it was so. I just thought. To be fair, I totally thought it was just a way to get the action going. But as we're talking here, I wonder if there's more elevated there of like, is there something with not getting tattoos? I know like tattoos
in England.
Tattoos for I know for like in the Jewish tradition, if you they don't want tattoos because you can't be buried in the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something with being a Middle Eastern and having any kind of tattoo? I don't know. May be totally ignorant there. I apologize if that's offending or anything, but you know what I mean? Like just because granted, it is also a U.S. like sailor Navy, so I get it. I'm probably thinking way too deep on that.
Sure.
But just the idea of him having a tattoo, my brain was like, why is that disqualifying?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why, because for some reason, being from Ishmaelia, he wouldn't have any tattoos.
That's a thought.
That might be why.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so he doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know what he's doing, but he just floors it and he flies.
Floors it. He's like, I'm out. He's like, I know you got that other guy hostage. I'm out.
Absolutely.
So we move into the next issue. Oh, and this, by the way, this is also all narrated by Shipwreck, which is great.
Yeah, it's so great. I do have to make one mention before we move on, just to tie up something we talked about earlier. We talked about a contest. They were giving away Zartans and Dragonflies.
Yeah.
The mission control is like the briefing at the beginning of these issues. Well, here we learn of all the winners. So congratulations to our one winner, Alex Palmer, who won both a Dragonfly and a Zartan.
Congratulations, Alex Palmer.
Although we're still going to try, remember?
We're still going to try to get ours.
They have any
maybe we'll just mail Alex Palmer and be like, send us your Dragonfly.
And then there's a whole host of other names that they reveal, but yeah. Anyway,
congratulations,
we learned
Alex.
the winners of the contest.
That's really great.
They followed through on their promise.
I hope you used all of your no-step stickers properly.
And they also do tease, and this becomes a running joke. At one point a reader asked about an Action Force fan club.
Ooh.
And so they say, finally, news on the Action Force fan club appearing in issue 21. Well, I can tell you, when we get to 21, there's no news about the Action Force fan club. And then we get to 22, and there's no news about the Action Force fan club. So that's one thing that they're not quite following through on.
Interesting.
They're having trouble getting that together.
Well, I am one thing that, and I know, well, it's 50 issues, but it being weekly, that's really pretty quick. Like we're gonna get to the end of these faster than I think you would anticipate it. So my what I'm trying to voice here is I wonder how far along they knew they were gonna end.
Yeah.
So at this point they're at the halfway point, but that's technically only 6 months ahead.
Yeah.
So,
and I can guarantee you that they didn't know they were going to end when they did end because of this. So they mentioned one other contest. So they talk about, this is in mission control of this issue. And it says, basically, well done to all the winners and commiserations to all those who entered but didn't find their names on the winners list. Better luck next time. See, that's how they handled it in those days.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But they go on to say, and believe us, there will be plenty of next times. In this So big promises.
Yeah.
In this week's issue, you could win yourself one of 12 sets of 2 Action Force videos from Tempo Video. We talked about that.
Yep.
Next week, we're running a competition to win those Combat Crazy Battle Beasts, a bit of cross promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the part. In just 3 weeks' time, you'll have a chance to win a year's supply of Action Force comics. So be on the lookout for all this and more in the Mightiest Adventures comic of them all, Action Force. So they're announcing or previewing a competition where you can get a year's supply. Well, we're on issue 20 here.
Yeah.
And
Right.
all of these issues ran slightly less than a year. They ran up to
Yeah.
issue 50. So if you won that contest and you now get a year's supply,
Right.
and then you get to the end and they're like, sorry, you only got a, 9-month supply or something.
Yeah. Well, see, someone would sue today. Someone would be like, "Hey, you know what I mean?" They would. Although,
That's why we can't have
no,
nice things.
No, but I'll tell you what, though. You know how Marvel, used to handle that. I know how Marvel used to handle that. They would tell you your subscription is being transferred to another title. That's exactly how they did it. So I don't know what they do with Action Force here. So maybe they would transfer them to like that Marvel Superheroes, the one that reprinted all the.
Actually, you know what? They did move.
Or Captain Britain Weekly or something.
Yeah.
It's exactly what they would do with Marvel. When your subscription ran out, they would say any lingering issues that you've paid for will just go to Iron Man or Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man or something like that.
Now that I think about it, once we got to issue 50, what they did was they were taking just Marvel G.I. Joe reprinted material and putting it in the back or adding it to Transformers.
Yeah.
That title. So they probably
just moved you to Transformers.
Transformers, where
Yeah.
you still got a little bit of Action Force.
So since we're on the topic, so we know editorial is closer to real time because editorial being printed weekly, editorial, all this text stuff could be done. Let's say we'll say 2 weeks in advance.
Sure.
But the artwork we know is still artwork. So that's still being done. I would at that time, especially because without computers, without sending digital files, I would easily say at least 3 months in advance.
Okay.
So I'll bet you for original artwork, we're coming close on when they would have to say, hey, we're not going to be publishing this after 50 for original artwork.
Okay.
I would say probably maybe around 54, so maybe around issue 35. We'll just roughly guess that out.
Yeah.
Because then that leaves like 3 months of them publishing, having artwork done to publish. And probably around issue 35, they probably knew, or at least would, or at least around that time. So, because a lot of times they'll commission art and it won't, the dreaded deadline doom will cause them to have stuff being made, and then they find out that something's been canceled, and then years later, I'm talking about Marvel Comics, they'll publish that issue as like a special, because they'll say this was in the works, and then we got canceled. But they paid for it, so they want to own the copyright on it, so they end up publishing it, things like that. So I'm probably in about 10 issues or so from this.
Yeah,
is when they probably got the word that they actually were gonna be done.
Right now, it feels like they're firing on all cylinders.
They are, and they are.
They're launching contest
It's
after
awesome.
contest,
Yeah.
and
It's great, and it's good. So I mean, so we jump into the next issue, and I love this panel of the water moccasin. This is so exciting. There's explosions, shipwrecks cutting through. He's cutting a corner in this tunnel, and they're more like sewers. It's not really like picture like it's fully bricked, like it's fully built tunnels. They're not in like natural cave formation. I mean, maybe it was, but what we're seeing here has been bricked and built.
Yeah,
seemingly.
It's old.
Yeah, it's old. Top right panel. There it is. Crimson Guardsman directing the scene, man.
Yeah,
he's really doing his job. I really dig that.
So great.
He was able to knock down some of the brick, which slowed down or stopped one of the water moccasins, but he knows he's in trouble. We finally meet Copperhead.
Yeah, this is the first appearance of Copperhead.
Yeah,
and they load up by name.
They load up the police patrolman Jones.
Yeah.
Now this is important because
he's the son.
The son, he's Reese Jones, son of Elwyn Jones,
the politician,
who is real.
Yes.
This is my question.
I don't know about the son. I haven't done that research.
Yeah, either he had a real son that they shot in the comic book. They don't kill him, but they shoot him, and they have him captured by Cobra, a real person who is the son of an MP. Or they invent a son of an MP.
Yep.
To then shoot in the pages of Action Force.
It's intense.
It is intense and insane.
Yeah. No legal issues there.
I'm throwing out, speaking of legal issues, let me throw out some scenarios for you. Elwyn Jones had a son years ago. Kid died from cancer, right? Died somehow he got killed in a motorcycle accident, got killed in a whatever normal accident. It's a source of pain for him. Mm-hmm. Opens up Action Force Weekly. Oh, you're giving me a son and you're shooting him. Another scenario. Elwyn Jones, married to his wife for 50 years. First 20 years together, all they wanted to do was have kids. Turns out one or two of them, they're sterile. They're unable to have children for whatever reasons. But all they ever wanted was children, and it's been a source of pain for them for their entire 50-year marriage. But they came closer together because of it. But at the end of the day, they still go to bed and they go, "Wouldn't it have been great to have a couple nippers running around?" Yeah, it would have been great. Hey, did you see this week's Action Force? Yeah, they shot our imaginary son.
Salt in the wound.
Salt in the wound. Here's another scenario. He does have a son. Son is named Reese Jones. Turns out he's a real person. Hey, guess what? I'm in this week's issue of Action. Holy cow. Yeah, you are? Yeah. And my dad's an MP. He's kind of famous, so they decided that they like him, so they're having some fun with him. Oh, yeah, what happens here?
Yeah.
I get shot and captured by Cobra. Okay.
Any way you slice it.
Any way you slice it.
It's colorful.
It is wild. It was wild that they used him in the first place.
Yeah.
And it is now wild that they're giving him an imaginary son and putting him in this peril. I think it's great. So Copperhead is on the trail. The Joes are now heading down the Joes. This is what I really dig about this. The fast pace of this. They show. That's Footloose. They show Footloose coming back up from the tunnel. He went down there, checked out to where the action was, saw that they had already left that area. They don't take time to show that, Footloose is going down and checking it out. Footloose goes down there, checks it out. We just see that he goes, they ain't down there anymore. They must have went down these tunnels. They immediately call Lady J, and Flint's like, they got the lead on us, but you got to get out there in the middle of nowhere. And that's when they find out that the cop is actually Reese Jones. So now Footloose is, or is that Crankcase? Footloose is like terrific. Elwyn Jones, the MP whose comments led to Action Force being grounded in the first place, he's gonna love this. So again, it's nuts. They get in the Dragonfly to chase this. They know it's on the River Thames, so they know kind of the direction that they're gonna need to head. And we cut back to the sewers. This is all also still very James Bondy. There was that was it Live and Let Die or no. It was the one they did the video game of that was really good. Where he was hanging out and there was a big sewer fight.
With which Bond? Who's
Sean Connery. There was a big sewer thing. They did a pretty good From Russia with Love. Yeah. A big sewer thing. That was the vibes I was getting out of this. So Shipwreck is he's spinning around in these sewer tunnels, and he crashes. He gets them to crash into each other.
You've never seen this many water moccasins in a skirmish. Ever. It's incredible.
And I imagine they're harder because the nature of the water moccasin being that fan boat, not being a motor. They're harder to maneuver in tight spaces.
Oh yeah.
I imagine they must be versus turning a propeller. But that only leaves the main water moccasin, which is not only Copperhead, but that Crimson Guardman, who he's calling the shots over Copperhead. He's screaming, there he is, open fire. Like it seems like he's really in charge over Copperhead. So they're chasing after Shipwreck, and he busts out. There was a hole that was made in the wall during the action. He uses that hole to kind of, Smoking the Bandit style, break through a wall.
Not sure if he can make it, but he makes it.
No. And so now he is on the proper River Thames. I'm on the Thames. There's only one way to go. Face it, Shipwreck. You've had it, because Shipwreck knows at the end of it is the Thames Barrier. Now, do you know what the Thames Barrier is?
Built in 1982.
Yes.
Yep. It's to control the water level.
Water levels. Yes, I looked this up too.
Yeah.
I had to know. It's a real thing, and it's drawn pretty close to what they look like.
Yeah. And so, yeah, right now the barriers are up, and obviously they can be retracted.
Yes, but not in time for Shipwreck.
That's right.
So he's heading down there, heading towards the barrier.
He's as good as dead.
Yeah, they're like, he's gonna either crash into the barrier or just have to stop, but he can't steer because his ailerons or his fins or whatever it is that steers it, they're busted up. So Shipwreck's, there's no need to chase him. Meanwhile, Flint comes flying overhead, and this move is bold. This is a bold move. Flint, remember, Shipwreck's hand is handcuffed, not like loosely moored to the water moccasin. Like, it's like handcuffed. So that's like, it's what, 6 inches at the most of chain.
Mm-hmm.
Flint, flying the dragonfly with one hand, hovers above him with the other, drops the tow hook to Shipwreck so he can hold on to the tow hook. Flint then pulls out his shotgun, shoots the handcuff off of Shipwreck while he's flying an airplane or a helicopter, while Shipwreck is bouncing along in a damaged airfoil boat. Yeah. That is a crazy move, Michael.
It's
like,
amazing.
I mean, think about what just happened there. That is, I want to see that in the next Mission Impossible, because that is awesome.
It's amazing.
That is absolutely awesome. So once he knocks the handcuff off, Shipwreck then holds onto the hook, and he goes zooming up, and the boat hits the barrier.
That Alpine flipping around the Eiffel Tower was cool.
That was crazy.
This is next level.
Yeah. And I love it. The Crimson Guards was like, they did it. I don't believe they did it. It's time we played our ace in the hole. So now this is the Cobra hydrofoil comes out, and on the front of the hydrofoil, they have chained up the MP's son. And the hydrofoil is they're just gonna ram it into the barrier. I think they're just gonna kill it again, and everyone on board, and Copperhead's on it too.
But you get to see,
Copperhead transfers to the hydrofoil.
You get to see the hydrofoil toy action feature.
Yeah,
that we rarely see.
Yeah, it's up on its front hydrofoil.
Mm-hmm. This panel is incredible. Again,
it's a good down the barrel shot of the hydrofoil shoot. Oh no, what they're doing, they're not trying to kill themselves. They're actually going to blow up the barrier and escape through the barrier.
Yep, they got to launch those 2 giant torpedoes off the moray.
So the giant torpedoes that had the cool stickers, those launch off. They do hit the barrier, and it does blow a hole in it, but they have to negotiate the hole a little slower because they can't go at speed, otherwise they will kill themselves. So as they slow down to get through the barrier, that's when Shipwreck, still looking like Hassan, dives off the dragonfly. He kind of grabs. So the cop wasn't technically hooked to anything. They just had him laying on the front of the boat, which seems weird.
Yeah.
Because if I were the cop, I would have already have rolled off.
Right.
It is water.
Yeah.
I am 5 feet above that water. Ain't gonna kill me.
Yeah.
I mean, it would hurt. I'm not saying it would feel great. But anyway, so Shipwreck jumps off and knocks him off of it into the water, which frankly what the cop should have done himself.
Sure.
50 yards earlier. So that basically it saves the day. The Joes are like, all right, we'll let them get away because we have to save who we're here to save, which is Shipwreck and the cop. And they do. They save the day.
Yeah.
And so saving the son of that guy basically shows the government that the Joes do their job really well. And so the whatever the decree was on them is lifted. And when they ask the real man, what do they think about saving your fake son?
No comment.
No comment. Which is crazy. Because, do we think that he's working for Cobra? That could That could be.
That is a distinct possibility.
That could come into play. That he was doing it the whole time because of Cobra, not just because he's some government stooge who doesn't like G.I. Joe.
He's gotten a fair amount of face time.
And if so, is there something you know that?
No.
Oh, okay. Because
No,
if so,
I'm just.
yeah. Because if he is working for Cobra,
I'm going through these for the first time.
if he is working for Cobra, and his own son was kidnapped by Cobra and shot by Cobra, it'd be a little discerning, disconcerting. Like it'd be
Yeah.
a little like I don't know how to feel about this.
Sure.
I had to rely on the Joes, who I'm with Cobra, so I don't like the Joes, but they did just save my son. But if he is just an MP who just thinks that the Joes Action Force, I keep saying the Joes, that thinks Action Force is terrible,
Yeah.
and they did just save your son, and you're that much of a jerk about it.
What's going on?
You're really a jerk.
Yeah. That's putting it lightly.
That's putting it Apple Podcast friendly. Like,
That's right.
Like your son was just saved, and you're like, next time. Like what?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's totally crazy.
That's crazy. Well, listen, what's not crazy is how great these Action Force comics are. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm just going to mention real quick, as I do a little bit. So in the mission control of this final issue, they do talk of the first Action Force Transformers crossover.
Awesome.
A little preview. The next arc that we're going to cover gets into that.
Oh, okay.
And so actually, they go on to say that you should go out. They're trying to get Action Force readers to pick up the Transformers comic if they're not already reading it as well. But they're saying starting in Transformers number 125 is the story. And then it continues in Action Force with issue 24. And it goes on for several issues. So if you want the start of that story, we actually got to check out Transformers 125 to get the start.
Which we will.
And then we'll go on. So we've got we'll get into it next week, but starting with issue 23 is a one shot, but then starting with 24, it's the beginning of the first ever Marvel UK Transformers Action Force crossover. So that's something to come.
That's exciting.
And then also just I mentioned the fan club. They basically just keep saying we've gotten this several times. I'll just mention it once. But newsflash, Action Force have failed to retrieve the agent carrying information on the Action Force fan club update. His whereabouts are still unknown, despite desperate attempts to recover him. We'll update you on the situation as and when we receive more news. Newsflash ends. Basically, fan club, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Fan club, some barrister somewhere said we had to follow some rules and we can't, and so therefore you guys are going to be out of luck.
Tidbit, the
Yes.
Dragonfly, the toy, has two names printed on it.
Okay.
Do you know this? One is
like the G.I. Joe one?
the
real
the
one?
G.I. Joe one and the Action Force one.
Well, it was what,
Had
the
a decal.
X. Oh,
So the
decal.
names.
The names.
So-
the names of the pilots.
Yep.
Got it.
On the Dragonfly.
Wild Bill.
So one is Lieutenant William Hardy, as we know in the
Is
States
the other
as
one
Wild
Taltree?
Bill.
Isn't the other one Taltree?
So the
That
other
one?
one is no, it's W.C. Colbert is what's written on the
Okay.
G.I. Joe Dragonfly. But in the mail call here of this final issue, reader writes in, Dear Flint, on the side of the Dragonfly, who is W.C. It says Cuthbert. I'm going to assume they meant Colbert.
Okay.
But the editor responds and says, or Flint again replies, W.C. Cuthbert is none other than our very own Wild Bill, which is a total lie.
What?
Not true at all, because even within the mythos of Action Force, Wild Bill's real name is still William Hardy.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, Joe, if you know, this has been a question that's been asked through the G.I. Joe fandom. I'm sure some people know all about it, but have you ever been curious about the other name on the Dragonfly?
Until this moment, never dawned on me.
Well, I'm gonna.
I sold my Dragonfly a long time ago. Haven't laid eyes on it in a long time. So
I'm gonna give you the answer to the question you did not ask.
yes, no,
Which
I'm glad you're here to ask it.
Which is the other name on the G.I. Joe Dragonfly. W.C. Colbert is the name of the sculptor of the toy.
Awesome.
This was a thread years ago on His Tank where someone came through and said, he was a colleague of mine. According to his story, Wild Bill was sculpted to resemble Robert Redford. When they got the figure in hand, it looked more like Bill Culbertson. So they named the pilot Wild Bill. I believe there's another story pertaining to where Wild Bill's name came from. I'm not sure what is the real story, but anyway, essentially it's the name of the sculptor, and
I love that.
And then there's the
it's news I never had, but it's also not surprising because that's how a lot of this Joe stuff operated, where they would name them after their fellow sculptors and peers and friends and colleagues.
Exactly.
So that's great. I've never heard that. So listeners, if you've never wondered, you wonder no longer.
There you go. I was just the boldness of the editor in Action Force saying, "Well, that's clearly Wild Bill," just lying to the reader. So taking a little bit of license.
Editor, liar.
And the last thing, Joe, to close out, I have to show you the results. I'll give you this of the Great Action Force Readers Poll.
Readers Poll.
So this is the double page spread.
Favorite artist with a U. Favorite. Kev Hopgood. Man, he smoked Jeff Sr.
Yeah. So they've got 3 images of Quick Kick, and they show
which is cool because they basically show you how each artist renders the same character. I really like that.
Yeah.
Kev Hopgood first, Jeff Sr. in second, Steve Yowell in third. All great. Favorite Action Force character, of course, Snake Eyes, Quick Kick, and Flint, which is funny because Snake Eyes is really not an Action Force character. Right. So that's crazy.
Well, he's of the American contingent.
Yeah. But that's crazy. Favorite story, of course, Snake Eyes origin, then Gunboat, then Shakedown. Shakedown, G.I. Joe story. Snake Eyes, the origin of G.I. Joe story. And Gunboat, was that it?
That was the original, the first story we read.
That was the first story. So really only one Action Force story actually made the top 3 stories.
Yeah.
Favorite cover, Action Force number 12, Who is Storm Shadow, which is awesome because that's that great Storm Shadow answer to the Snake Eyes. Marvel 25th anniversary cover,
which was the number 2 cover.
Which is the number 2 cover, and then the third is Action Force 14, The Fire and Ice, which is the amazing Snowcat cover. And it just realized, what's this look like? That Snowcat cover.
Oh,
that's the Mauler cover.
Yeah,
it's the exact same design. I think we probably said the same thing. Like, we love how it's being blown up in the air. They use the exact same design.
Same artist.
The same artist.
Jeff Senior's doing it again. It's hilarious. A signature.
They're both tank treads.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
That's funny.
I'm really glad we looked at that because it is the same design. It's the same cover design.
There you go.
Favorite Cobra character, Storm Shadow.
Of course, by a landslide.
Then Zartan, then Destro. And favorite vehicle is the Dragonfly, Snowcat, and the Sky Striker. That makes sense because the Dragonfly is getting used a lot in this stuff. The Snowcat's really cool.
So anyway, those were the results of the...
That's hilarious. It is that's why that cover's so good.
Yeah.
He test marketed the design on it. Awesome. Well, Michael, thanks again for joining us. Listeners, remember, we'll be back next week with some more Action Force adventures. For Joe-Nie loves Action Force.
I love it.
Love it. Now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.
Full force.